We are going to have a look at the final of the Armageddon series, a brand new tournament which was taking place in Berlin over the last couple of months. Several qualification tournaments were taking place, and now it's the big final. And in this final we have Jan-Krzysztof Duda playing with the white pieces against Wesley So. And as the tournament name suggests, it's a time control, very short time control, 3+2. And in case it's a tie after 2 games, Armageddon game will eventually decide. This is going to be very exciting. Stay tuned for what's gonna happen right now. Jan-Krzysztof Duda plays the move 1e4, and we get to see the Spanish opening. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castling kingside, bishop e7, rook e1. All very standard opening play. We have seen it thousands of times before. b5, bishop b3, castling kingside. And this is also part of Wesley So's repertoire. Very solid, reliable system for black. He's ready to go for the Marshall lines arising from the move c3 and then d5. But white goes for the so-called anti-Marshall with the move a4, putting pressure on this pawn on b5. And we have seen these lines in so many games of Magnus Carlsen, but also in the recent World Championship match of Jan Nepomniachtchi with Ding Liren. So a takes b5 is a threat. Black advances the pawn to b4, and now white breaks in the center with the move d4. Black supports the pawn, so there's d6, and now after d takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, we have a very solid position, symmetrical position with only one open d-file. Queens can easily be exchanged now, but that's not what white has in mind. Jan-Krzysztof Duda is a fearless attacker, and he's going to show that in this game as well. Queen f3, nice move, bringing the queen to the king side so that hopefully it can put some pressure on that side of the board. And well, there are various possibilities here for black how to continue your development. And in an older game of Ding Liren, black went for the move bishop c5. I think that is a good move, but instead Wesley So played here the move a5. That's a remarkable move, and I don't think it was really needed to play this pawn move at all. White goes knight e2. I think that's a nice idea. So the knight is on its way either to c4 or perhaps even to f1 followed by g3. Black went for bishop to b7, and now I like the move knight c4, putting pressure against that pawn on e5, but was not played in the game. Probably the reason why Jan-Krzysztof Duda didn't go for this line is because of bishop takes e4, and now if you take on e4 twice, it will lead to a back rank mate. So this is a typical pattern you should keep in mind. But after the move bishop takes e4, you can just move your queen away to g3 with various ideas of getting the bishop involved. Play the move rook ad1, attack the queen with tempo. Pawn on e5 is hanging as well. White's advantage is beyond any doubt. Didn't happen. It's Armageddon. It's fast time control. No time to think. Knight f1 played. It's perhaps a safer move, but doesn't put pressure against the pawns on e5 and a5. Black went for the move knight d7, logical move, trying to improve the knight to come to c5. But after knight to g3, black played rook a6, also a typical idea. One of the main points of having inserted that move a5 is that now the rook can be activated along the 6th rank, and perhaps black is dreaming of a devastating attack against the white king. Well, things are not that simple at all, and after knight f5, it is white who is putting pressure on black's king side. I like that knight on f5. It keeps an eye on the bishop, can always consider the exchange bishop for the knight. But okay, black went for the move knight c5, attacking the bishop on b3, and now the bishop comes to c4, hits the rook on a6, and the rook swings over to the other side of the board. Very understandable, but what is the rook really doing there? Do you see any attacking chances? Well, to me, this is not clear at all. Also, one of the main drawbacks of having the rook on g6 is that black is no longer able ever to challenge that knight on f5 with the move g6. So there followed c3. You may think, what is the idea of this move? Well, you just want to get rid of that pawn on b4. If white were allowed to play one more move, he would probably take on b4, and after a takes b4, white gets a passed pawn, which can easily be pushed and also count on the support of both the rook and bishop. So white is trying to confuse black by playing on both sides on the board. He has in mind to launch a kingside attack, maybe play in the center anytime with him by occupying the open file, but also the queen side really contains some weaknesses. So there are various options, but b takes c3 is a very logical move, was played in the game. Now after b takes c3, pawn structure is symmetrical. This pawn may look weak, but black can of course not really attack it. So black instead played here bishop d6, trying to support the pawn on e5. But now, very strong move, and that's the key moment of the game, I would say. If black were able to play a few more moves, his position would not be too bad. But the key move here, played by Duda, the skill of a great attacker player. He senses the moment, he spots the weakness, and that rook on g6 is problematic there. It's going to be attacked by white's h-pawn. h4 is an excellent move. You're threatening to play h5 and kick the rook to an inferior square. For instance, one of the typical plans for black in such positions is to move the bishop back to c8 to be able to eliminate that powerful knight. But after h5, rook is under threat. This all didn't happen in the game. It's just an illustration. The rook will go to f6. But now it's bishop to g5 with a huge pin. You're winning material. Rook takes f5. This is a tricky move. If you take with a pawn, there is queen takes g5. But you take back with the queen on f5. And I'm pretty sure this was all seen by both players. Both queens are actually hanging. But white is an exchange up. So after bishop takes f5, bishop takes d8, white is an exchange up and should have no problems converting it. So here, black definitely realized that things had gone wrong for him. Play the move, bishop e7, attacking the pawn on h4, h5. Rook is under threat now. Black realized that the bishop was badly placed, so therefore it went back to e7. Rook b6 on the board, rook is back, but all these plans of making that rook lift over to the king side is all in vain. Queen g4, white is taking advantage of all these tempos and now threatens checkmate on g7. Black went for g6, taking away the pressure, but now the next piece is joining the attack. Bishop h6, hitting the rook. Of course, the pawn on g6 doesn't attack the knight on f5 because it's pinned, so black has no choice but moving the rook away. And now another very nice attacking move. Black's position is almost collapsing, but thanks to this rook on b6, which protects the pawn on g6, black is still holding on at this moment. But the key move is to eliminate the defender with the move rook a b1. Fantastic shot, and I'm going to show you a fantastic line. If black were here to take the rook on b1, of course you're able to take back with the rook and the attack continues. But a much stronger continuation is to ignore that rook and take on g6. This is absolutely insane. The idea is that, well, black can take the rook on e1, so he's 2 rooks up, but after king h2, white's king is safe. The checks are over. I mean, you can give one check, but I'm just going to take it. That doesn't make sense. And white is about either to take on f7 or h7, while after h takes g6, there is queen takes g6, and the bishop on c4 is decisive. It's pinning the pawn on f7. The queen can't be taken. After king h8, it's queen g7 with checkmate. That was the idea of Jan-Krzysztof Duda's move, rook a b1. Pretty sure he had all seen this. You see how strong these guys are, even with such a short time control. Rook a b1, excellent move. So black wanted to play here bishop a6 to try to trade off that very annoying bishop. So often this bishop is very unpleasant for black with pressure against the pawn on f7. The pawn is pinned. It's not a good defender. Rook takes b6 on the board. If you take back on b6, it's h takes g6 again. You can take the bishop on c4, but then it's check, double check on h7. After king takes, it's queen g7 with checkmate as well. Therefore, after rook takes b6, bishop takes c4 was played instantly, but now it's h takes g6 anyway. You don't have to care about that rook on b6. It's not about material, it's all about the speed with which you are opening up black's king side. Black resigned here because after h takes g6, I mean, there's not much else black can do. There's rook takes g6. If you take the rook, queen recaptures and it's going to be checkmate on g7. That is totally crushing. Then, of course, you don't have to take the rook. If you play something like king h7, there is this move rook g7 check, king h8, and now the rook is standing in the way. You need to get rid of it. The simplest way to do so is rook h7, so that after king takes, queen g7 is checkmate. Then, final line, if king goes to h8, then the simplest move is to sacrifice the rook on g8. As you're planning to get your queen involved, after rook takes g8, it's bishop g7. If rook takes, the queen takes with the same mating pattern as we have seen before. Case of king h7, it's queen h5 with checkmate. I thought this was a very spectacular win, and it granted Jan-Krzysztof Duda more than 80,000 euro. Absolutely fantastic performance by the Polish top star, and not a bad paycheck for him. I think he will definitely enjoy a night out in Berlin or where else elsewhere where he's gonna celebrate. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like it and please come back to the channel if you want to see more exciting attacking games like this one. Thank you. Bye bye.